Commissioner Moser, Commissioner Stafford, Commissioner Wharton, Commissioner Linton, Secretary Hargett,
Here by myself.
Treasurer Willard,
Present on the line.
Commissioner Morrison,
This is Nathan James here for Commissioner Morrison, and I am alone.
Comptroller Moonpower.
I'm here, and Jennifer Pfeiffer, who you can see, is in the room with me.
Thank you. Chairwoman, you have 7 voting members present and a quorum.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And our first item of business today is a statement on the need for us to meet electronically. Madam Secretary, would you please read that statement?
Commission members, all members are participating electronically today. As such, Tennessee Code Annotated Section 844-108B2 requires that the Commission make a determination that a necessity exists in order for a quorum of members to participate by electronic or other means of communication. A necessity means that the matters to be considered by a public body at a meeting require timely action by the body, that physical presence by a quorum of the members is not practical within the period of time requiring action, and that participation by a quorum of the members by electronic or other means of communication is necessary. In this case, 2 facts support a determination of necessity. First, today's agenda item requires timely action by this Commission to consider the committee's salary recommendation for the next executive director for purposes of the procurement process. Second, scheduling conflicts and other commitments prevented a quorum of members from being physically present today.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Do I have a motion to determine that a necessity exists as cited in the statement?
All right.
So a second?
Second.
Excellent. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairwoman Scarlett?
Aye.
Commissioner Allman? Aye. Commissioner Cope?
Aye.
Commissioner Coben? Aye. Secretary Hargett? Treasurer Willard?
Aye.
Comptroller Moonpower?
Aye.
Chairwoman, you have 7 ayes.
Wonderful. The motion carries. The statement should be included in the minutes. And next is the adoption of the agenda. With no questions or objections or annotations, entertain a motion or a second to adopt the agenda for today's meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Excellent. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll again?
Chairwoman Scarlett?
Aye.
Commissioner Allman?
Aye.
Commissioner Cope?
Aye.
Commissioner Coben? Aye. Secretary Hargett? Treasurer Willard?
Aye.
Comptroller Moonpower?
Aye.
Chairwoman, you have 7 ayes.
Excellent. Well, so now let's actually get into the meat of our conversation today. The first item on the item is the consideration of the executive director's salary recommendations. We had a conversation at our last board meeting about doing more due diligence and trying to pull together some examples of other ways that we might look at the executive director salary position, as well as potentially other areas of compensation or incentives. And so I'll pass this over to Ruth Hanneman, who is will present and provide us the information that the team has found out.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ruth Hanneman here. And members, welcome and good morning. Just a recap of the discussion from the May 25th first committee meeting. A discussion was held about alternatives or auxiliary salary options. I think the general consensus was that from historical practice, THEC, like many other state agencies, do not engage in alternative salary options such as housing or expense accounts and things of that nature. And so the focus really then shifted over to what would a commensurate or competitive salary range be for the executive director position. There was no additional consideration given to a sign-on bonus or any other measure. And ultimately, the search committee did land on a recommendation of $265,000 to $280,000 as a range. I will say that one question that was brought up by members of the executive search committee was the extent to which the two speakers have been engaged in the process of approving that salary range. I can tell you that as of this morning, we do have confirmation that both the lieutenant governor and the speaker of the House are in agreement with the executive search committee on that recommendation for a salary increase. Madam Chair, certainly happy to open up for any questions, but that was the gist of the meeting we had a couple weeks ago.
Thank you, Mr. Hanneman. Let's open up for questions. Anyone have any questions? If you do have a question, please state your name so we have it on record.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Please proceed.
Lou, will you please expand and be very specific about the discussions with the Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker, what they were told and how they specifically responded? And who met with them?
So we were able to confirm with Rick Nicholson in Lieutenant Governor McNally's office. We briefed him on the discussions held at the executive search meeting regarding the salary range of increasing from roughly 240 to the 265 to 280 range. His initial response was to get back with the lieutenant governor and then reach back out to us, which he did. The lieutenant governor's actual first response was whether or not that was enough. And on follow-up conversation, he agreed that that was a sufficient salary range. I personally tried to reach out to folks in Speaker Sexton's office to begin that conversation. Did not have much luck. Secretary Hargett was able to facilitate some additional agreement with the Speaker's office and confirm that they too were okay with the salary range moving forward.
To follow up on that, Comptroller, I reached out to Kevin Johnson this morning after Lou had indicated to me that he had not been able to speak with him, and Kevin indicated that an email had been sent to them about this subject, and said in his quote, they were fine, end quote.
Thank you.
Other questions for Lou? Treasurer Wood, it looks like you might have been asking a question.
All right, I said, what's the current salary, Lou, for the executive director?
The current salary, I believe, is $239. It's either $239 or $241. I can't recall off the top of my head specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be $241,000 on July 1st with the pending 5% increase.
And how does the proposed salary range square with, say, a community college president's salary in Tennessee?
Currently, community college presidents are hovering in the $200,000 range. When we look at, I guess principal to principal, certainly the university presidents are making a great deal more than that. Some as high as $1 million, all the way down to, the mid to upper threes. The chancellor of the Board of Regents makes $431, and even some of the community college presidents, I suspect after July 1 will be well into the 200s as well.
Okay.
your thoughts or questions or discussion about the proposed range from the search committee?
Madam Chair, I have a comment. If we're done with the question period. I mean, I don't want to repeat what I said yesterday necessarily, because I think, number one, we still have fairly poor attendance for this meeting in regard to commissioners. I think really no more than we had yesterday. And so I don't want to belabor the process, but I just want to say it again. I don't think the proposed salary is outrageous. I don't necessarily think it's out of a proper range. I just think it's getting the cart before the horse. As I stated yesterday, I believe this organization, this board, is at a turning point, and the biggest problem we have in recruiting an executive director is not a salary, but it is a clear mission, a clear sense of what value we add. You couple that with the fact that we are absolutely out of favor with the governor's office and the legislature right now. And I just think, you could offer me $1 million to do the job, and because of the instability that exists, I wouldn't feel comfortable taking it. So I think the proper order is for us to right the ship and make sure that our organization has the right scope of duties, and then look towards recruitment and proper salary. Again, I feel, if we're right-sized and if we're oriented correctly, I join Lieutenant Governor McNally in saying, is that enough? But we're just not there right now, and therefore today, not because of the amount, but because the cart is before the horse, my vote will be no. And that's all. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that perspective, Comptroller. I guess I have a bit of a different perspective in regards to this, and that's, we recognize in our conversations in the past that we haven't done what we need to do over the past couple of years as far as maintaining the relationships at the state level, as also with the leadership of the institution. And I think it's a really, it's been a challenge. It's been recognized. And I also believe that we need to have someone that can come in and captain the ship. While this commission might be the wind in the sails, we need someone to help work together to drive the direction forward. And so you think about bringing in a change maker, someone that can really be able to help build those relationships and be able to help steady the direction that we're going. It comes in a collective approach between certainly this commission, but also the internal team, as well as the institution leaders, and in partnership with the state too. And so I think all of those things are important, that we have a good leader at the helm. It can't continue. I don't believe it's in the best interest, certainly for the commission and also for the staff, to have a continued interim or someone that doesn't have the experience to continue to drive this effort forward. Any other thoughts on this?
Scarlett, may I? Sure. And I address these questions to everyone, but also specifically to you, Commissioner Mumpower. How do we right the ship without someone at the helm, a permanent person? And secondly, will the leadership, the governor, be unhappy with us regardless of our hire? I mean, you said that they're very down on THEC. Do you know anything about what they have in mind for us to hire? I mean, do they want an academician? Do they want a business person? Do they want a political person? I don't want to bring somebody in who's dead in the water because they don't have the support of what the leadership thought we should hire. I just want to peek inside their minds and see if you know what would please them.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the question, and while I think I recognize there's an issue, I don't have all the answers. I would say that say that that having an executive director, a new executive director, could be a key. But I want to attract the kind of person who can come in and hit the ground running. I just am not certain that if we hire somebody and bring somebody in, from out of state or even from in-state, without a clear sense of mission, that they can be successful. I mean, are we looking to hire somebody that can come in and make an evaluation and restate a mission? As I said yesterday, I think the scope of our duties might need to change. You want to hire an executive director to come in and make an assessment and help recommend the scope of our duties. I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to be a participant in determining a right size of the scope and a right size of the mission. And I don't think until very recently, if still, there's a full recognition of this issue amongst our commission. I mean, all of us on this call, maybe with the exception of one person, were there yesterday. Many of the members who are not on the call and were not there yesterday haven't even been a part of this discussion. So again, there's lots of unanswered questions. I want this organization to be successful. And it's unfortunate we are where we are. We have an excellent interim executive director who we know there's an end to that. And so whether we were to operate with another interim or whether we were to find someone that was willing to come in at the current salary or if the vote today is to increase the salary, a part of their mission needs to be helping us to reorient. But I think, again, let me restate, I just made my comments yesterday and much more briefly today. It is my opinion that the working majority of this board does not have a recognition of the situation as it actually exists. And those of us here on this call, for the most part, got to discuss this some yesterday, but we still have several important absent members who I understand schedules are tight this time of year. But we have several important absent members that I'm not aware that have a recognition that this situation is what it is. They may, I'm just not aware of it.
I think that's a really good point, Comptroller. It might be beneficial sometime maybe as we move into the fall to maybe next month, the July meeting, maybe the following meeting, to have kind of a helpful review or conversation, or maybe there's some one-on-one conversations that can happen to share some of those perspectives. I don't know how to think about that. I'd love to get anyone's thoughts on, this current salary range when thinking about hiring someone, how that affects. I don't know. There's a cart before the horse here. I get what you're saying as far as you're unsure about the raise, knowing the uncertainty or lack of confidence or credibility that we have right now in the state. I also think we also need to come to terms with the level of salary that we're looking to accept right now so we can move forward with the hiring process in the search firm. Any other thoughts or questions or comments on the proposed range, or also informing the rest of the commission on some of the challenges that we might have with the state?
Well, this is David Lillard. I would just ask the question, I just point out that time is wasting, and so from that standpoint, what are the specific steps that we need to take to deal with the issues that the comptroller has pointed out? Is it that we form a committee of the board who goes around and interviews every board member and some of our staff situation like that, to tackle that? that may have some effect on what type of person has been pointed out that we hire as an executive director, and it may also have some effect on what is required in terms of salary to get that person to come to work for the board. So it is kind of all twined up into one.
Commissioner Scarlett, may I also speak? Like Commissioner Lillard, I'm really concerned about the time. I wish we had known in January that there was a way to fast track something, an RFP through, so that we could have gone ahead and started the search for the national search firm way back then. Time is wasting. However, I would like to have more information from the rest of our commissioners. I don't see any reason that we would not continue with the RFP process. That should be up and ready to begin a search, I would imagine, by our July meeting or shortly thereafter, according to what you said yesterday.
That's what I understand.
I think we need to go full speed ahead. And we're very concerned about what Commissioner Mumpower is bringing to us. I guess I would want to know, is this recent information, Commissioner, or is this something that we've known for a long time?
Councilor, I believe that the question is directed to you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is it recent information? It is not to me. And I regret that it's taken me so long to mention it, because it's something I picked up on from the first meeting I attended. And it's something that has become more acute in recent months as I have met with the governor and his staff, and as I have met with legislative leadership and their staff. I mean, I don't think it's any secret that the governor's office is the one who engineered a change in our chairmanship just a couple months ago with the administration they were experiencing. And so it's not new. I just think it's been tiptoed around for a long time, and I just decided to finally mention it in the public square because I continue to want this group to be successful, but we've just got some right sizing to do. I agree, time is of the essence. If I regret anything, it is that I waited so long to bring it up in the way that I have.
Chairwoman Scarlett, I just wanted to mention that Commissioner Wharton has joined the call as well.
Welcome, Commissioner Ward.
You know what, I'd like for us to go ahead and vote on this. I'm a little frustrated that if the leadership is frustrated with us that they haven't let us know something more particular and more specific and given us a more detailed bit of information or feedback. I would like us to go ahead and proceed. Let's not waste any more time. Let's do the best job we can. Let's get the best person in here we can, and let's work through this together with new leadership.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Nathan James, and I just to offer a little bit of perspective also in terms of if you look at the world in which the Higher Education Commission has existed over the last several years, with all of the individual governing boards and things that have happened over time, there are obviously a lot more voices in higher education that are speaking at the legislature than perhaps there was in the past. Just, in my mind, I've thought perhaps additional authorities and some things that were more clear-cut if we had seen some of the things that the legislature had made as great strides forward with the transfer pathways, with a lot of those steps kind of being asterisked, being changed and worked on and caveated. And so just from that perspective, I think perhaps the answer to some of that might actually be additional authority at a later point in time. That's not to say you should or shouldn't do what needs to be done in terms of the salary, but having kind of lived in that world for the last couple of at least the last decade and a half, that's one thing I've noticed.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Commissioner Coburn, per your comment about moving forward with the salary, I entertain a motion we have for the salary on one subject. On the second subject, I'd like to come back to the conversation about the state. So I'd like to entertain some sort of motion for the salary range.
Second.
Excellent. Madam Secretary, would you mind calling the roll?
Chairwoman Scarlett.
Aye.
Commissioner Allman.
Aye. I'm sorry. I'm going to pause really quickly because Commissioner Wharton was not on the phone on the call when the range was provided. Would you mind just quickly providing that information? I apologize.
No, absolutely. A quicker recap than the previous recap. On May 25th, the Executive Search Committee did meet and did arrive at a salary range, a recommended salary range for the Executive Director position to be hired, not to be implemented immediately, but for the prospective hired Executive Director of $265,000 to $280,000. And there was other discussion, again, about possible auxiliary, salary or benefit options. In the end, though, the determination was to move forward with only a salary increase associated with the Executive Director, and this was for the purposes of the RFP that is currently on the street looking for a search firm. Happy to answer any questions, Commissioner Wharton.
That's all I need. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Secretary, please proceed.
For purposes of the motion, could we just have Commissioner Allman restate or clarify her motion the range that she is making a motion for?
Make a motion to approve what the committee has proposed of a range of $250,000 to $285,000.
260, 285.
260.
The recommended range was 265 to 280.
Sorry, you wrote that down wrong. 265 to 280.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Allman. I'm going to restart the vote if that's okay. Chairwoman Scarlett?
Do we need another second on that or no?
I'll second
I
again.
think so. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Chairwoman Scarlett?
Aye.
Commissioner Allman?
Aye.
Commissioner Cope? Sorry, one second. Commissioner Cope is on mute.
He's off now.
Commissioner Cope?
Aye.
Commissioner Coben?
Aye.
Secretary Hargett? Commissioner Wharton?
Aye.
Treasurer Willard?
Aye.
Comptroller Montower?
No.
Chairman, you have 7 ayes and 1 nay.
Okay, thank you. The motion carries. So moving on to any other business, this idea of the challenge we have with some of the relationships and the specific role that THEC plays in the higher education system and with the state, I don't know whether it makes sense for us to form a committee, Treasurer Woodward, whether I just feel like you won't be able to move quickly. but I welcome any other ideas in regards to this. Yes, sir.
Again, first my apologies, I had some connection issues. The gist of what I have been able to pick up from Controller's comments, based on my experience, this is not the first time this commission has faced those kinds of concerns, even before the constitutional officers were added. And not that the past should rule the present, but in the past, each time we heard of those concerns, we didn't wait to form committees. We needed to call the governor's office and say, look, we're going to need, but we pick this up. And again, this is not the first time, and I would not be, it was constructed in all the times past, and that's one suggestion that I would make.
I very much approve of what AC has said. I think time is of the essence, and if there's a problem, we need to get to the bottom of it, and we need to do it in a very forthright way.
Absolutely. And let the governor decide who he wishes to be in that meeting. We're not going to tell him who we're bringing, we're going to his house. He determines who the guests are, and let's get it head on.
And thank you. I certainly appreciate that, especially as one who brought it up. I think time is of the essence. I agree, but I also think it's important that our whole commission understands this rather than a bare half that we have right now. I'm not sure how to facilitate that. I know I personally will be out of state in July, but we can get started. But it's clearly difficult to gather the commission as a whole this time of year. So I just want to say I'll be glad to participate if I'm desired. I've been in the room, with these other state leaders. And heard directly from them their concerns, and I promise you, they're real. I think our chairman and others could go and talk with them as well. And I'm hopeful they would be as forthcoming as they have been when I've been in the room.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
May I be recognized? I would suggest that there's nothing that Madam Chair, other than her direction from immediately reporting out to those members who are not here today a summation of the concerns and asking them to weigh in how they feel. They may have heard of concerns that have not surfaced to the body as a whole. And letting the other members know, should the governor honor a request from me if they feel strongly they'd like to be invited. We don't want to get one of those instances where someone says, I should have been there. Why didn't you call me? I want everybody to know this, and I would make that suggestion to the chair.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Wharton. I actually have meetings already scheduled with those speakers. And I can certainly, I've met with the governor's office multiple times as well, and I'll pursue to have further conversation with them. I think the idea of having a conversation with each of the commission members in regards to what they have heard or learned, and also to inform them of the concerns that Compower has, I think that makes total sense. So I will take that on as far as further conversations to inform and inquire and report back. I too will not be at the July meeting, so I will not be able to see you in July and share that, but I can certainly do so potentially electronically in advance.
With the understanding that whatever they say is public, concerns, you got to get it out.
Yes, sir. I agree. But do we have any other business for today?
I think Commissioner Scarlett has understood that once you meet with leadership and the governor, that you will get back to the entire commission and let us know what they have said. Perhaps invite them to a meeting. Something.
Yes, absolutely. You'll hear back for sure. Well, if there's no other ideas, comments, or business for us to discuss, then we can conclude this meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Brilliant. For a second? Okay. I don't think we need to do a roll call for this. I'm just saying. Thank you all for your time today. I appreciate it. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.